Hello everyone and welcome back to my Unreal Engine tutorial series on creating your 3D platformer. In this video I am going to continue with the sword trace events so we can actually deal damage to our enemy. I've also created this enemy over here. We hit it. Okay, see? Mentioned in my previous tutorial, I was asked to create a different sort of combat system, similar to Mario, where we can jump on the enemy and deal damage. This is planned, so I will be doing this. I just wanted to cover this as this is a more of a Sly Cooper type of platformer. But I will be creating the second system in as soon as I'm done with this system, so you'll have the option of whichever system you prefer. Yeah, so look forward to that. It will come at the end of this. There is only 1 or 2 more videos left of this combat system, so once that's done then we will move on to the alternate combat system. And yeah, so look forward to that. But for now, let's get started with adding the sword traces in and creating this nice modular combat. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so now that you're ready, we're gonna go to our player blueprint and just come to your attack system. I've put mine in a collapsible node, so I just highlighted everything and I put it into this node here, which you can just do by that dragging of everything, right clicking, collapse the nodes, and then rename it, right? So we're going to come down here, find some open space, and we're going to create 3 custom events. So we're going to go melee trace start, another one, custom event, melee trace loop, and the last one is another custom event, melee trace end. Yeah. So let's move these down and we'll start with this. From here, drag out from your melee trace and go set timer by event. Okay, set this to looping and leave it as is. Okay, so then we're going to come to our melee trace and we're going to get a sphere trace by channel. And we need to now get the start and end locations for the sphere trace. Let's just make the sphere trace a bit bigger, so let's maybe make it 10 and set the debug draw for duration and set this to much shorter time, like 0.5. okay, so now we need to get the start and end. So in your BP player sword, add 2 arrows to your skeletal mesh by going arrow and just label them melee start and melee end, and then move them to the location you need, so 50 and -25, right? So once you've done that, compile and save. Make sure that you remember these names, they're very important. So back to your BP player, in the event graph we're gonna come to the sequence at the start, and we're gonna drag off of our BP sword here. We're gonna go get child actor, gonna cast to BP sword and just connect this up to here, and then right click and go promote to variable, and we'll call this melee ref. Okay. So now let's just move this into position. This is very important as we need to access the components from our blueprint, right? So just comment this and say melee weapon reference. Okay, I'm just gonna reroute this, put this like this. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to go back to our melee combat system, okay, and come down to the sword trace. And we're just going to come into where we need to start and end, and we're going to get our melee. I'm just going to add it to here, get rid of that, drag it out, and we're going to go get melee start, drag all the way to the bottom, get it there, and then do the same again, get melee end, all the way to the bottom, get that like that, and we're just gonna go get world location and get world location, and it like this. So I'm just gonna set the draw time to 1 so we can see, and then go to the beginning of the attack, and we're gonna just drag out here and type in LA trace start. Okay, and we'll just test it out quickly, and then you can see we've got this. That means it's working. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this now, and now we're gonna go and do the animation notifiers so that the animations drive where our trace goes. So open up your content browser, go to anim notifiers, and we're just gonna go to blueprint class, and we're gonna search anim notify, and we're not going to use the normal notify, we're going to use the notify state. So select state, put this down. I'm going to name one A and S for anim notify state, and we're going to put your sort trace. Yeah, that's it. So open that up, and we're going to come to our functions, and we're going to go receive notify begin and receive notify end. Okay, so go to your begin first, and we're going to drag out of here and get owner, and then cast to BP player, and from here we're gonna get the sword melee trace start. There we go. Connect that up, and then just copy these two nodes because we're going to go to the end here. So, and that's it to there, and melee trace end. Connect that up and click compile and save, and that's the sword trace done. Oh well, the notify state's done. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to go to our animation montages. Just open up any one of them and come to the start, and we're going to add a new notify track, right? So we're going to add a notify track, and we're going to call this the trace loop. Okay, so now in here we're going to find where our sword is going to start tracing. So let's say from about here. So right click and go add notify state, and we have this ANS sword trace, right? That's what we labeled it. And we go to where we want the sword trace to end, and we just drag out the last pin. So we say about there, where the animation ends. Yeah, so we'll say about there. Drag that out to there, right? So what we want to change afterwards as well is we just want to go back to our sword trace, and we just want to change this loop to be a bit shorter, just so that we're having a bit more of an accurate sort of trace rather than every 0.1 seconds. So click compile and save, and let's check if it works. So as you can see, there we go. Now we can probably increase this as it looks like too much of a trace. So let's go back to maybe put this up to 0.1, and let's just check. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, so let's do the same for the rest of our animation montages. So that is, yeah, that's the trace. So let's move on to the next section. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to apply damage. So we're going to need to come off our sphere trace in our BP player, and we're going to get a branch. So drag out branch, and drag out from outit, and we're going to break hit result. So that's down here, and we need to go type an and. Okay, so the reason for the and is we want to make sure we've hit something and that who we've hit has a special tag, right? So from here we're going to go has tag, and we're just going to label this enemy, right? So I'll show you what I mean now. Since we don't have an enemy, let's just quickly create one, just so that we can, well, I can show you exactly what this does. So open up your BP player, your blueprint, sorry, your component. We're gonna come to the blueprints component. We're just gonna create a new folder called enemies. Open that up, create a new blueprint class of type actor. It's BP enemy base. Let's just call it that for now. Open it up, and we're just gonna add many. Call it that. Down. Give it the same blueprint class as us. Let's change the thing to show that it's an enemy, so it's material. So come over to here, click on this, and you can see I've created an alpha 2, but let me just show you. So let's just duplicate this, and I'll call this enemy mat. Okay, open it up, and we're just going to change the tint type to be red, right? That's all we want for now. Go back to your enemy base and try to change this to enemy mat, and just to easily identify this, right? So then what we're going to do is we're going to come to the class defaults, and we're going to search up here in the details for tag, and we're going to add a tag, and we're just going to call this enemy, right? So basically when our sword trace interacts with this, it checks if it has this tag called enemy, and if it does, then we'll deal damage. So just to add onto this, let's just add the BPC stats component. And we can get rid of this now, and now we can change how much health this enemy has. So let's just say it has 80, right? And its max health. So that's nice and easy, so that we can then tell, we can reference this across all our characters using the BP stats, rather than giving each of them its own variables and creating that constantly. We can now just use the BPC stats and change how much health they have here, right? So back to your BP player, and we're gonna do a do once node, right? Because as you saw when we were testing, the amount of traces that go, for every time that trace activates, it's gonna apply damage. So rather we're gonna do a do once, and we're gonna drag that here and go apply damage. And the damage actor is gonna be our hit actor. Let's rewrite this. And we can set this as a variable, so promote to variable, and we'll say this is damage. And we're just going to add this into our combat. And then we can compile and just set the default value. So let's say we do 20 damage per swing, right? Then we're going to come out here and get a delay. And we need to delay this a certain amount of time, so let's say 0.35, so that we can reset the do once, so we can apply damage again, because if we don't, then we can't apply any more damage. Yeah, so just set that like that. Let's drag it down actually. Better. And that's going to be our damage calculations. So let's just drag this over, comment it. Damage calculations. Okay, so small change quickly, because this AND variable isn't going to work. So we're just going to get a branch, and we're going to say it is there, and then get rid of this AND, and we'll do another branch to here, right? So it checks if we hit something. If we did hit something, then we check if that something has the tag actor. If we don't, we're going to get a runtime error, as there is no false off here for it to do anything. So rather just do it this way, get a branch off the out hit, off the sphere trace, check it, then if it's true, then we check if it's got a tag. Okay, so the next step is to get some hit reaction animations, so that our character, well, our enemy can actually get hit. So I've opened up the Lyra project, and I've come to mannequin animations actions, and I'm just going to get these first 4. Just see if there is any others. Let's just check. Hit. Yeah, so that's fine. It's just to show off the system. So export to your projects, and we can put all of them here. Okay, export all of them. Okay, after that's done, you can close your library project. We're just gonna go to a normal project. Go to animations, create a new folder, code it, hit React, and we're gonna import all those animations we just created. So this one's here, all four of them. Just make sure that your mannequin is the SK mannequin and import. Okay, so we've got all those. Save them. Right click and create animation montages. That's fine. Leave them as is. That's good. Save again. Okay. So we're going to come to our BP enemy base, to the event graph, and we can get rid of all of this. And we're just going to go event any damage. And from here, we're going to go play montage. Right. And we're going to get the skeleton. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create an array. Hit React. Okay, and we're going to make this animation. Yeah, object reference. But we're going to make it an array so we can have multiples. So click compile. And we're just going to add 4 in. So we're just going to go hit React 1. Just put hit so we can get all of them easy. Hit and hit. Okay. From there, we're gonna come out here. We're gonna get copy. We're gonna connect like that. And then from here, we're gonna random integer. That one. Range, and the max is gonna be our length minus 1. So we're minusing 1 because this is gonna count the amount of animations in our array. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to minus 1, so it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And connect that up to there. Should be that. Yeah. So let's just move this over. It's here. It's here. Yeah. This will be the play hit animations. And then from there, we're going to do a knockback. So we're going to launch the character. We need to launch them in the opposite direction of our player, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to cast to BP player, yeah, and we're going to get the player character here, and then we're going to get forward vector. Not that one. We're going to get actor rotation, then we're going to get the forward vector, and we're going to times that by right click on the pin and make it a float, and we're just going to say a certain amount, let's say 500. That, and then we're just going to connect that up to the launch character. Our target is going to be self. Yes, self, that's fine. Yeah, so this is the launch character backwards. Yeah, compile and save. And the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a camera shake, so that it just makes it look a bit better. So we're gonna come up to our content browser, go here, we'll make this under the gameplay, so that we're keeping everything here. Go blueprint class. Out here we're gonna get camera shake. We'll make a better camera shake at a later point. This is just to show this. So let's do BP camera shake. Open it up, and we're just going to change the oscillation duration to 1 second, our rotation to 1 and 50. Maybe make this 1.5 and 50, and then the location same 1.5, 50. This one's set to 0, initial offset set to 0, and then do the same for the rest. 50, leave this as random. 1.5, 5, 50. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So click compile and save, and now we go back to our BP player, and after the sword attack, over here, oops, camera, that one, it's play world camera shake. That's now we can reconnect that up to there. That. Now we're just going to go to our BP camera shake, and the epicenter is going to be our location on the header. So just drag out like that. We can now collapse that. Now let's actually move this before the delay. So let's swap this around. Take this. That into that, and that into that, just so that we're not delaying the camera shake. So if we did it like this, comment this as camera shake. Okay, so let's drag out our BP enemy. Let's drag it out to, let's say, here, and let's test it quickly. So come over here, character. So what's happening on our playtest when you saw it's not working, even if we trace the trace against it, it's working. It's because our trace response is looking for a specific channel, and this character does not interact with that channel. So let me show you how to fix that now. So open up your BP enemy base, and you just want to come down to the collision event and change the collision preset from pawn to custom, and you just want to change the visibility trace to block or overlap, either one. Yeah, because when we go to our player trace here, you can see we're tracing for the visibility channel. So once you've done that, we can go ahead and test. If the overlap doesn't work, we set it to block. Okay, so we have to set it to block. Go back to here, set this to block, and happy days. Okay. So let's test that out. There we go, and you can see our hit react, but our camera shake is really high, so let's change that, as well as the knockback value, as it seems very low. Okay, so let's change the knockback value first. So let's maybe put this up to 800. Yeah, and then we're going to come into our camera shake and just change a couple of the variables. So let's put that down to 0.35, amplitude to 1.2, to 1, to 1, to 1. I think that should be, let's give that a go and see how that looks. And just save everything. Now we're going to come in and test it. Yeah. So, there we go. See, it's still a bit much on the camera shake. You can see there. We also want to change the delay duration on our attacks. Just put this to say 0.2 instead, right? So if we come back here, when you check, there we go. Okay, so let's see what else we can add. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do for this tutorial is we're going to add some sounds to the hit as well as the grunt on the character. So let's quickly do that on the enemy, as it's the easiest. Play sound, add location, and get actor location. Cool, and now we just need a hit sound. So let's see if we have anything. No, grunt. Okay, so let me get a sound imported and I'll share it with you in the link below. Okay, so I've imported the sound here. Like I said, I'll link it below. So all you want to do is click on it and bring it in here. And we're just going to change a couple of the variables. So let's just move it up here. We're just going to change the pitch, random float in range. And we're just going to make it something small. So like minus 1.5 and positive 1.5, right? And that's going to be it. So we can recollapse this and do this. And let's play it. So if we wanted to have multiple sounds, we can use a sound cue to do that instead. So let me find another sound. I'll show you that. Okay, so I couldn't find more sounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this and I'm going to change a bit of the variable so it sounds a bit different. Higher pitch. And then we can duplicate it again for lower pitch. Okay. I'm just going to open it up, go to pitch. I'm just going to put this up to like 2. Yep, that's fine. And now we'll do the same with the other one. So it's this one, and we'll make this 0.2, so it's very deep. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to click over all of these, just save them quickly, right click and go create single cue, call this cue grunts. And as you can see here, now they've all been added here, and we'll randomize between all of these. And I think if we drag out of here, we can go volume, or what's it, mixer? No, not mixer. Yeah, doesn't really matter. But here's your volume multiplier, your pitch multiplier that you can all fiddle with. So instead of using that specific grunt, we can come here and now use cue grunts, right? And it will randomize between those. Okay, so compile and save, and let's just add some sounds here. So we come off at the end here. And we can do the same thing, we can do cue grunts or whatever, but we're going to go play sound at location. Actually, let's make the code a bit neater so it's not all here. So come down here, we're going to create a custom event called hit sound, hit SFX. Okay. Then we're going to play sound at location. Get actor location, and from here we can just go add our hit the sound effects, which I'll find now, which I'll also link below. Okay, so I've imported the sound, which I'll link below. I'm just gonna put the volume a bit lower, so I'll open it up and we'll put it to like 0.8, and then we go back to our player and we're gonna put sword hit sound effect, right? And we can comment this as hit SFX. And then we can come up here and just call it hit SFX and connect it up like that, and that should be it. So let's check if it all works. Yeah, there is my player. And you can hear it's making different noises. Okay, so that's gonna be it for this tutorial, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them best I can.